So, have you ever heard a quote for something on a day where you really needed to hear it? That happened to me the other day. So, I was having like a particularly hard day, just feeling a lot of anxiety, was all frustrated. And I heard somebody quote something from The Artist's Way from the author Julia Cameron. And the quote goes like this: Perfectionism is not a quest for the best, it is a pursuit of the worst in ourselves. That part that tells us that nothing we do will ever be good enough, that we should try again. And honestly, I heard this and I was like, whoa, like I felt like it like knocked me off my feet. I had never thought about perfectionism in this way. I'll also admit this was really funny. I think I was on Jen Diaz's, my friend Jen and mindset coach Jen's retreat back in like 2022 or 3 in Mexico where a bunch of people were talking about perfectionism and I was like, I don't consider myself to be a perfectionist. I just like everything has to go right. It was just like one of these hilarious moments where I was just like, oh, wait a minute. I think I might be one of them. Like, it was so funny how I considered myself to be like so far out of it, you know? And I was like, oh, nope, there she is, right in there. And by the way, welcome back to On Your Terms. If you're new here, welcome. If you're a returning listener, I'm so glad that you're here. On Your Terms is a podcast for online business owners who want to be as present in their lives as profitable in their businesses. And we're not going to be very present in our life or profitable in our business if we don't keep a little check on our perfectionistic tendencies, which I think pretty much we can all agree that we probably have some degree of. So the day I heard this quote was a particularly spirally day for me. Hopefully you've had one of those and I'm not alone in this, but my brain that day felt so wiry and like just felt like I couldn't grab a hold of it essentially. Like it was just one of those days where it felt like it was escaping me. I felt like in my life in general when this happened, I was doing a million things. Like I was balancing a million things at once, but I wasn't doing any of them well. Like, and because I was balancing so many of those things, I was just like, I'm failing in all of these areas. So when I got home, I sat down and just like, I just had this sudden urge. I've never done this before. I had this sudden urge to just grab a piece of paper and make a list of all of the things I realized I was trying to do perfectly. Like some without, I wasn't even realizing that these things. But as I heard this quote and as I was feeling so scattered that day, I started realizing, like, man, you are trying to do so much, like so much. A lot of my friends will tell me, especially those who are also creators or like in the online business space, they'll be like, I think you do more in like a day than most people do in like a couple of weeks, you know? And so sometimes I don't even realize like how much I'm just so used to knocking so many things out. I can get things done pretty quickly. And all of that just leads to like thinking, I don't know, almost becoming like overly confident of like, well, I can handle all of these things at once, right? Without even realizing it. So I sit down to make this list and it was hilarious. Like, I mean, some of these things on the list were like, I'm trying to hit 100 ounces of water. I'm trying to exercise every day. But also, my exercise routine has to be perfect because it all has to make sense. Like, the exercise routine has to be a progressive overload of, the weights. And then I got to take a deload week and I have to be doing that perfectly. I've got to time the food perfectly before I work out because if I don't eat perfectly before I work out, then I don't feel good when I work out. Oh, also, I have to eat perfectly as soon as my workout's done so that I maximize the muscle production within 45-minute window of having eaten. And I've got to get my night routine down. Like my night routine has to be perfect. I have to do this step and this step and this step in this order or I won't sleep through the night. And I'm trying to build the perfect email list with the perfect people and send the perfect emails with the perfect subject line to make sure I get the perfect open rate and improve my perfect click-through rate, something that keeps me up at night. And we haven't even talked about Instagram and trying to perfectly keep up with all the algorithm changes and all the different ways I got to show up or not show up online. And then we add in all the life stuff like, trying to be a wife to Ryan and not be too bad at that either and not mess up so that I don't make him feel this or that way. Trying to be the best dog mom to Hudson and feeling so much guilt that his little knee got torn because maybe I had done something like maybe I should be giving him like glucosamine and chondroitin to help his joints. And maybe this was my fault because I wasn't perfectly feeding him or, I don't feed him the perfect dog food because when I got Hudson, my dad was dying. And so I just did what was good enough and I've stuck with it. my office and my house isn't perfectly clean and perfectly organized because I've got my dining room table right now covered in all of the things that I can't seem to get myself to get to putting away, and I don't honestly even know where to put them. I'm not perfect at responding to people, but I was trying to and trying to make sure that all my friends felt taken care of. Like, I've responded immediately and everybody knows I'm available. Everybody knows I'm helpful. I'm trying to be perfect at being helpful. I'm trying to be perfect at trying to learn how to play tennis and do that right, and perfect at my high rocks training routine and improving my heart rate. By the way, that's my HRV has been not what I've wanted. And so I'm trying to be perfect with that. The list literally went on and on. This was like the start of the list. It just went on from there. Perfect meals, perfect timing of my carbs. Like, it's relentless. It was relentless. I had to laugh looking at this list because I was like, oh, okay. So, like, you're just trying to, like, do everything in life perfectly and be like a perfect specimen of a human. That makes sense. I've been on such a health journey since like summer of 2025 and trying to like heal some things that came up after the loss of my parents. And it's helpful because every once in a while you need a reset when it comes to this stuff, that you realize, like, being so quote unquote perfect about all of it is actually causing more problems than it's resolving. And so I realized, like, wow, I had just like taken on a lot more than I could handle. And I was just making everything too rigid, too black and white, too perfectionistic, to say like I have to be doing all these things perfectly or else, or else, or else. Have you ever felt lost about where to begin with the legal side of protecting your online business? Some people say you can just wing it at the beginning and get officially set up later. Not a good idea, by the way. Whether you're afraid to even start working with clients because you don't want to do something wrong legally and then get in trouble, or your business is growing and you sort of forgot to take care of the legal pieces, I've got you. I don't want you to live in fear of the internet police coming after you and your business, but you do have to do certain things and get certain things in place in order to legally and safely run your business online. As much as it just feels like an unregulated wild, wild west online, that is very much not the case. As an attorney turned entrepreneur and former corporate litigator, I can assure you that there are rules. There are real steps that everybody who runs or starts an online business needs to take. And you're not behind at all. We can get you set up and following the rules right away. In fact, we can even do it today. I want to teach you the 5 very simple steps to take to legally protect and grow your online business. You don't need an MBA to be a successful entrepreneur and stay out of legal hot water, but you do need to dot your legal I's and cross your T's in a few key areas that can't be skipped. That's exactly what I'll teach you in my free 1-hour legal workshop called 5 Steps to Legally Protect and Grow Your Online Business. Just head to mylegalworkshop.com, drop in your email address, pick the time, and I'll send you a link to watch the workshop video whenever you have time. This is the best place to begin if you're just getting started legally legitimizing your business, so head on over to mylegalworkshop.com and sign up to watch 5 Steps to Legally Protect and Grow Your Online Business now. Making this list was actually an awesome release. Maybe I learned this when I was little. My mom used to do this thing, which I also do every once in a while, but my mom used to do this thing that she would call a worry list. And so my mom would sometimes feel really worried about a lot of things. She was a single mom. She owned her own business. She was a doctor. And she would just get really worried sometimes about a million different things. And she would sit down, she would make this worry list in her journal, and then she would always set a date for herself 6 months later to go back and look at this worry list. And the reason that she really liked it, doing it this way, was because she would tell me from a very young age, like, Sammy, when I go back and I look at my worry list, none of that stuff happened. Or it happened and it was okay. Or it happened and it worked itself out. Or like it went in a better direction than I could have imagined. And so she would always joke that like she thought at some point she wouldn't need to make worry lists anymore, but she would make them still throughout her life, all the way till the end. She would make worry lists and then she would look back at them and be like, oh, not so bad. So maybe this is where I got this idea, just like make this list, and just there's something about seeing it in front of you so tactical of like, would you ask one of your friends, if you pretended like that list was a to-do list for your friend and you gave this to your friend, would you ever expect your friend to be doing all these things at once? Or would you be like, this is an insane, like insurmountable list for any person, so why would I expect it any differently for myself? It's not that the point of this exercise or like what I walked away with was that I had to give up every single one of those things. Some of them it was like, some of those was like, I don't need to be doing this. I don't need to be doing that. I don't know why I'm doing this. Others, it was just like, it's okay if I I don't hit my protein goal for like one day, several days, many days, right? Or many meals, or it's not perfectly timed, or you know what? Maybe right now in the season I'm in, working out is for fun, it's for movement. I just thoroughly enjoy it. Maybe it's not that I have the perfect program so that I'm making gains all the time. Like, I don't even know what gains I'm interested in making. So, why am I putting all this pressure on myself? I just sort of released my death grip on doing all of these things perfectly. I think a lot of this year and probably a lot of this podcast is just going to be a lot about like releasing our death grip. We all have our death grip on different things at different times. And this is certainly not the only one that I have, but it was really about releasing the death grip on this stuff. I also just started folding in a lot of self compassion for just how much I was holding. Like, I would say the first step was just being like, man, no wonder you feel like this. Like, I would feel like that too if I had this kind of list, and it was me. So it was like that was phase one. And then phase two was like, how about I also fold in a little self-compassion for the fact that like I'm trying my best, and like what are just like the couple of things I want to focus on? What are like two things out of here? Not that I want to do perfectly, but what is my focus? Because maybe what's causing me to feel so much angst and that kind of wiry brain that I talked about at the top is the fact that I'm trying to do a million different things and I don't know what exactly my focus is on. So even if my big focus, for example, is improving my health, making myself feel better again, like before, what I felt before my parents died, essentially, or before, especially before my dad got sick. If that's the overall goal, well, what are like two things on that list that I actually enjoyed doing? And like, what's a healthier way that I can approach those two things? So, like, water's been pretty important, and eating enough protein has genuinely it turns out you need protein. I ate like 0 grams of protein before. I drank maybe 10 to 15 ounces of water. I'm not kidding you. I didn't drink any water. I hated drinking water. So those were two things. It was like, okay, this is like objectively good. It doesn't have to be so perfect, but I realized that these things make me feel better and they have a ton of downstream effects. Like eating enough protein makes me feel fuller. It makes me feel more energy. I sleep better. Drinking water has helped me with my immune system, my digestion, my skin, so many things. So it's like so many downstream effects. So those seem like two good things I could focus on that are just like, this works for me. It also doesn't mean I have to do them perfectly. As perfectionists, I think we can come up with a lot of excuses about how our perfectionism serves us. I know that this is something like I've done a lot is like, yeah, well, good thing I am because that's why I'm so successful. Like good thing I'm so anxious because that's what makes sure that everything gets done on time. Thank goodness I'm such a worrywart because I caught that problem the other day and I wouldn't have caught it if I didn't check Slack 46 times a day. Like there's just so many things we all do this. I do this all the time. My husband does this all the time. He's an accomplished professor, right? He always says like, well, I wouldn't have gotten there without my anxiety. I'm like, I mean, maybe, right? But like also how's that serving you now that you have accomplished all of these things? So I'm so curious whether this is something that you struggle with too, how this comes up for you. I mean, I can certainly see this coming up in our businesses, right? And I was hoping by sharing this today that maybe you would make your own perfection list for one. And two is that like, especially when it comes to your business, how many things are you trying to do in your business perfectly? Are you trying to be perfect on like 6 different apps while also starting a YouTube channel and maintaining a podcast and building an email list and also building up your clients and like being the best coach or therapist or creative to them, right? Like, are you trying to do all of these things perfectly all at the same time? Because if it were me and I was trying to grow my business, I would step back and I'd be like, that's a lot for one person to do. By me doing all of these things in all these different places, I'm actually just like splitting myself up into a million different little pizza slices. And like, I'm not able to give any of myself to any of these things. And maybe that's why it's not growing, by the way. Like, just like maybe my health wouldn't get better if I focused on a million different things that I couldn't then do well, right? So, what kinds of things are you trying to do in your business in that way? And if you really had to step back and slim down, what are two things that you could focus on this month, this quarter, etc., that you could go deeper with those things while still adjusting your relationship to them? Like maybe you want to grow your social following, right? And you have this idea of like you have to show up every single day. Well, it's kind of like what people say about the gym. Like sometimes people will go from like nothing, like no movement to like, oh, I want to go to the gym every day. Well, if you're not doing anything right now, going to the gym consistently twice a week is going to be a hell of a lot better than doing nothing. I think the same thing applies to being consistent in whatever way you want to grow your business. So if your thing right now is about social media and you're like, yeah, but I can't do video every day, or I can't post every day, or I can't do that. Well, how about we pick a different way of being consistent and ease up on yourself a little bit about the story that you've created about what it means to be perfect on that platform. Because the truth is too that there are plenty of people, myself included, who are growing a lot on social media, for example, without doing the things that I'm sure you have a story around that needs to be done, right? Like somebody just said to me the other day when I was at my mastermind, they were like, nobody's growing on social media because the only way you can do it is if you post a reel every day. And I said, oh, that's so funny because I actually it's been a while now, like 8 months or something, maybe, that I dropped down to 3 times a week posting on social media. And we don't always post like face to camera videos. So some of them are like B-roll video images. So it can be like me making coffee or me sitting at a coffee shop. Everything has to do with coffee, but like sitting at a coffee shop, doing work or something like that. And they just throw some text over it. What if we just try to show up in the way that you can consistently and see how it goes? And just ease up on yourself that like, yeah, that would be nice if I could do a reel every day, but I can't. So instead of it being 5 reels per week or 0, why don't I try 1? If I posted 1 reel consistently every single week, you're going to grow more than 0. So I just think that there's a lot to be said about this kind of checking in with, first of all, how hard you're being on yourself, and then like where can you just put some more of your focus and energy. And some of those things can just, the other things on the list that don't meet the 1 to 2 things criteria, those don't have to go away forever. Like put them on the back burner. Maybe next season you pick those things up. Maybe by next season, like kind of like my mom's worry wart list, by next season, you're like, actually, those things aren't really that important to me anymore. Turns out I spent some time on YouTube and I don't really like it. So I'm going to stop trying to do that perfectly because I don't even like it. And if I'm not going to like it, I'm not going to show up there consistently, which means it's never going to grow. So make your perfection list of your own and see what parts of it you can giggle at, like the way that I kind of laughed at myself and just saw like the ridiculousness that was this list. What parts of it can you relinquish? What parts can you let go? Where can you loosen your grip? What do you want to focus on? I'd love to hear from you. Obviously, you don't have to share your list with me, but I would love to just like hear if this was helpful, what came up for you. If you want to share your focus for this season based on whatever you made your list about, I'd love to hear from you. You can reply to any of my emails or you can DM me on Instagram at Sam Vander Wielen. I'd absolutely love to hear. With that, I'll chat with you next week. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks so much for listening to the On Your Terms podcast. Make sure to follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. You can also check out all of our podcast episodes, show notes, links, and more at samvanderwielen.com/podcast. You can learn more about legally protecting your business and take my free legal workshop, 5 Steps to Legally Protect and Grow Your Online Business at samvanderwielen.com. And to stay connected and follow along, follow me on Instagram at Sam Vander Wielen and send me a DM to say hi.